Moto Tigers here, and this is my 2026 C8 Z51 Stingray. Let's talk about it. Okay, now that we're sitting in the Corvette, I have to tell you guys, this is the best car I have ever owned, hands down. And this is my 5th Corvette, but it's my first C8, and it is an absolute treat to drive. At the time of recording this, I have 4,270 miles on the car and 1 weekend on the track at Circuit of the Americas. And so we're gonna talk a little bit about how this car has been to own for the first 4,000 miles. So the C8 has a 500-mile engine break-in when you buy this car new, but there's also a 1,500-mile break-in if you're going to track the car. I took this car to the Circuit of the Americas at about 1,600 miles. So I was absolutely ready to get this thing on a track as soon as possible. I had previously driven Coda in one of my C7s, and so I was really excited to go drive that same track again, but with the C8, and I am here to tell you, it was an incredible experience, absolutely night and day between those two cars. Now this car is basically stock. The only upgrades I have made are steel brake lines, high temp fluid, and a more aggressive compound on the brake pads because I do take this car to the track, so it's kind of cheap insurance there. I probably should have invested in a second set of tires, and I'll show you guys a shot of my tires now, but this should give you a pretty good idea of what those stock Pilot Sports are gonna look like after a whole weekend on the track. You'll notice I do have the glass roof on this car. I optioned the painted roof, and then I bought this aftermarket. I love the glass roofs, but in the summers they can be pretty brutal here in Texas, so I like having the painted roof to put on if, you know, I think that I'm gonna have the car outside a lot in July or August. I was also really surprised and impressed with just how many interesting electronic options and menus and customizable things that this car has. There is so much going on in the displays. I don't even know that it's worth me trying to talk about all of it, but you know, I have a friend who has a Spider RS, and we took his car out, and it became a standing joke that, you know, he was like, have you ever considered paying twice as much for a car and having half as many options? Because there's just so much going on inside this Corvette. It's absolutely crazy. Some cool features on the 2026 Corvette is that we got rid of the big wall of buttons that was on the right hand side between the driver and the passenger. I think that's a big improvement actually, and I'm pretty pleased with how they did the layout on the entertainment display to control everything. I think it's really intuitive and everything makes a lot of sense. The left hand side also has a touch screen control display where I like to run the performance data on that side, but you also have control of your HUD and some other things like that, like your display, whether or not you're syncing it to the drive mode or not. So really cool feature. I think that's absolutely worth buying the 2026. One of my favorite things about this car is how practical it is to daily. I drive this thing all the time, all over the place. Sometimes I take it to work, I take it out on errands, even going grocery shopping, and it's totally usable for that purpose. I love the fact that I have a car that I can daily, and I can also take it to the track and be completely satisfied with, you know, both experiences. I will say the front lift has been extremely important for that daily driver aspect. Here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, the roads are really bad. There's tons of terrible repairs and bumps and curbs and all these things. And so I use that lift a lot around town. And I would say if you live in an area that has a lot of bad roads, you're gonna wanna have that option for sure. I'm also absolutely loving the carbon fiber 5VM kit from RSC. I think it completely elevates the look of this car. I think it's tasteful. I would recommend it to anybody that's looking for something a little spicier than the stock splitter. I want to talk about how this car was on the track. Bottom line, amazing. I didn't have a track alignment or anything like that done. I literally took this car basically stock minus the brake upgrades to Circuit of the Americas, which is a pretty demanding track, and it did so well. One of the best parts of the track experience is I actually got to see how the car handled in a downpour on the track. Our first day out there, it was raining pretty much the whole day, and so that's a very unique experience to drive a track in those conditions. There were a lot of cars that wrecked. Thankfully, I was not one of them, but gave me a lot of confidence in this car to drive it in those conditions, actually. And of course, on the dry track, it performed beautifully. I was so impressed with how it was in the corners compared to the C7. It was absolutely night and day. The car is really confidence inspiring. I am a novice, you know, I do track days. I'm pretty good behind the wheel, but I am not an expert by any means. But this car was so confidence inspiring. I was immediately comfortable with my racing line and with handling the car after only a few laps. And I think that speaks a lot to how good this car is right out of the box. I think the biggest limitation is probably the seats. So I did not option the better, more racing oriented seats for this car. So while the bolsters do adjust well to keep you fairly secure for spirited driving, when you're driving on the track, it's really not quite enough. And I was missing having a harness so badly. So I'm actually thinking about putting harnesses and new seats in this car if I'm going to do more track days, because I really felt like that was a huge limiting factor for me, was trying to stay stable in some of those corners. And speaking of cornering, I was seeing lateral Gs of up to 1.8 out of this car, which is pretty impressive. I was not expecting to see numbers like that and still have traction in some of those corners. The car also did remarkably well at staying cool. I didn't have any overheating issues or anything like that. Honestly, the only thing that struggled with the car was my tires. One of my only gripes with this car is the PDR does not export your performance data overlay with the video. So when you are looking at the video in the car, you can actually see all of your performance overlaid, but it exports just the video unless you are using third-party software to actually download and edit those videos. That's super frustrating. That is a change from the C7, and hopefully Chevrolet is going to find a way around that soon. I don't like having to rely on a third party in order to get data off of my PDR. Overall, the quality of the car has really impressed me. The fit and finish has been fantastic. I think it's a lot better than my C7 actually. And the Roswell green paint, oh my goodness. When that color first came out, I did not think it was going to be for me, and I was seeing all these videos where it was kind of in shaded light and it looked like kind of this muted grass green color, but I am here to tell you, seeing it in person just absolutely convinced me I had to have it, and I am so pleased with this paint. It is so fun. It is an absolute stunner in the sunlight, and then it also looks really great under fluorescent light. Like if you go to a gas station at night or something like that, it looks absolutely stunning. It's almost like a neon green in that light. When it's shaded outside though, it does look like this kind of muted, darker green. A lot of people still compliment it in those conditions though, so I think it's a really spectacular color. If you're on the fence about the Roswell green, try to go see one in person, try to see one in the sunlight, and I promise you, you will be convinced that you have to have a Roswell green Corvette. One other thing that I will mention on this car, with my C7s, all of them had little transmission issues. Most of them had to go in and have the torque converter work done. This car has been pretty much complaint free, but I will say there have been a couple times that I have gotten stuck in really bad stop and go traffic on the highway for like, 30 minutes or more. And in that situation, the transmission seems to get kind of unhappy if you leave it in automatic, and you'll get like some lurching happening. But it's clear that the transmission is just not happy in that very specific case. But normal driving circumstances, I've been so pleased with the transmission. The automatic, it works phenomenally well. I actually left it in automatic mode most of the time I was at the track, and it did a great job. I could not do that with the C7. The C7, I needed to paddle shift it because it was not shifting where I needed it to shift. But I was so impressed with this transmission on the track in automatic mode. It was really spectacular. Really, that's my first impression. I will do a much deeper dive on this car after I have about 10,000 miles under the belt, but I just had to make a video to talk about how fun this car is. It's so much fun to drive. It turns heads everywhere it goes. Best money I think I've ever spent on a vehicle, and I can't stop talking about it. If you are on the fence, just get your C8. You are not going to regret it.